Hello and a very good morning to you. You're watching Times Now. I'm Pratibha and the focus is on Tokyo as Prime Minister Modi is there. And the Quad meeting came to an end, after which the bilateral meeting took place. And we're getting you inside details of what exactly happened. According to sources, Joe Biden, the US President, said a few words in praise of India, especially highlighting India's handling of the Covid-19 pandemic. And he also contrasted India's success with China's failure in containing the coronavirus. In fact, he also highlighted the autocratic way in which China was handling the entire pandemic, its failure in handling COVID-19, and it also contrasted it with India and how India dealt with COVID-19, hailing India's deliveries as a democratic nation, also underscored India's deliveries in the unscripted remarks.
मिस्टर प्रेसिडेंट, आपसे मिलकर हमेशा बहुत खुशी होती है। आज हमने एक और सकारात्मक और उपयोगी क्वाड समिट में भी साथ-साथ भाग लिया।
Mr. President, it's always a pleasure to meet you, and today we also participated together in a very positive and useful Quad summit.
भारत और अमेरिका की स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप सही मायने में एक पार्टनरशिप ऑफ ट्रस्ट है।
The India-America strategic partnership is in the true sense a partnership of trust.
हमारे साझा मूल्यों और सुरक्षा सहित कई क्षेत्रों में हमारे समान हितों ने इस ट्रस्ट के बॉन्ड को मजबूत किया है।
Our common interests in defence and other defence and other matters, and our shared values have indeed strengthened this bond of trust between our two countries.
हमारे पीपल टू पीपल रिलेशंस और घनिष्ठ आर्थिक संबंधों में भी हमारी पार्टनरशिप को यूनिक बनाते हैं।
Our people to people relations and our strong economic cooperation makes our partnership even more unique.
हमारे बीच ट्रेड और निवेश में भी निरंतर विस्तार होता जा रहा है, यद्यपि ये हमारे पोटेंशियल से अभी बहुत कम है।
Our trade and investment relations are also steadily on the rise, but they are still well below potential.
मुझे विश्वास है कि हमारे बीच इंडिया यूएसए इन्वेस्टमेंट इंसेंटिव एग्रीमेंट से निवेश की दिशा में कॉन्क्रीट प्रगति दिखने को मिलेगी।
I am absolutely confident that with the conclusion of the India-USA Investment Incentive Agreement, we will see concrete progress in investment between our two countries.
हम टेक्नोलॉजी के क्षेत्र में अपना द्विपक्षीय सहयोग बढ़ा रहे हैं और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर भी आपसी समन्वय सुदृढ़ कर रहे हैं।
We're also increasing bilateral cooperation in the domain of technology, and even on global issues, we cooperate closely.
हम दोनों ही देश के इंडो पैसिफिक क्षेत्र के बारे में भी समान नजरिया रखते हैं और न सिर्फ द्विपक्षीय स्तर पर बल्कि अन्य लाइक माइंडेड देशों के साथ अपने साझा मूल्यों और साझा हितों को सुरक्षित रखने के लिए काम कर रहे हैं।
We both share similar views on the Indo-Pacific, and at the bilateral level as well as with like-minded countries, we continue to work to protect our common concerns.
क्वाड और कल घोषित IPEF इसके सक्रिय उदाहरण हैं। आज हमारी चर्चा से इस पॉजिटिव मोमेंटम को और गति मिलेगी।
The Quad and the IPEF are two important examples of this cooperation, and I believe that our discussions today will give even further speed to this positive momentum.
मुझे विश्वास है कि भारत और अमेरिका की मित्रता, वैश्विक शांति और स्थिरता, प्लेनेट की सस्टेनेबिलिटी और मानव जाति के कल्याण के लिए एक फोर्स फॉर गुड बनी रहेगी।
I am absolutely sure that the India-US friendship will continue to be a force for good, for global peace and stability, for sustainability of the planet, and for human development.
So this was Prime Minister Modi's statement after that bilateral meeting. A host of issues that were discussed, but the highlight of it, of course, being the United States praising India for its handling of the Covid-19 pandemic. Mr. Maruf Raza is live on the broadcast with us. Mr. Raza, while the Quad itself is a perceptive message going out that this is a new world order, what's interesting and what has been heartening in this meeting is the position of India within the Quad.
Absolutely. Quad has got, ironically, greater momentum because of what Russia has done in Ukraine. Had Ukraine and the Russian invasion not happened, Quad, I'm afraid, would have still been somewhat of a talking shop, where it would be looking at challenges which does not seem to project Quad as a body to confront China's aggressive rights. But now what Russia has done and the possibility of a Russia-China closer embrace has led to the following. One is the US is now pitted simultaneously against two of its major rivals, Russia and China. And therefore, it needs all the help it can get to scale up its ability to confront these two military powers. Now, it's getting all the help it needs in Europe, but it needs more clarity from the Asian partners. All of them have a problem with China. Japan has a territorial issue and trade issues with China. Australia has very serious technology transfer and trade issues with China. India, as we all know, is the only Quad member that is pitted against China on the ground, on the LAC in the Himalayas. And the US, for all its announcements, has done us some great favors by putting in at least 3 or 3+ aircraft carrier groups in the high seas surrounding China. This has obviously rattled the Chinese establishment, which thought the waters of Asia Pacific were what the Chinese had rightful ambitions to control. But I don't think it's going to work out that way. China has to go back to the drawing board again. But also Quad is a force for good against a lot of menace that is there in the world. Cybersecurity, the pandemic, the exchange of high-end technologies to make semiconductors. You understand, semiconductors are really the key that control a lot of technology activity, from cell phones to satellites to cars and various aircraft engines. Taiwan is the chief country that produces this. The company in Taiwan is called TSMC. I'm a bit surprised that Taiwan has not been invited at least to attend the gatherings in Japan. Don't make it a Quad or a Quad Plus member. But a lot hinges on how things will evolve between China and Taiwan. And finally, as far as India is concerned, India has got everything the Quad countries and the Asia-Pacific countries are looking for. My only worry about India is that, we always exude a lot of promise.
Yes.
But we focus on delivery. So if we can get that sorted out, then we are on a winning run.
Absolutely. We'll talk about the Chinese expansionism, because that has, of course, been the center of the discussions. But a very interesting contrast that the US President Joe Biden also made between India and China as he spoke about the COVID-19 handling. We played out that statement from Prime Minister Modi after the bilateral meeting. Now let's play out the statement that came in from Joe Biden.
The Indo-Pacific Economic Framework and the Indo-Pacific Maritime Domain Awareness Program that's going to bring India and the United States together with other nations to reflect our vision for a more open, more prosperous, connected, and secure world.
और यहाँ पे अभी टोक्यो में हमने एक 2 पहलों मिशनों की ऐलान किया है, जो कि एक है हिंद प्रशांत अर्थव्यवस्था का रूपरेखा और दूसरी जो कि इंडो पैसिफिक इकोनॉमिक फ्रेमवर्क और दूसरा है इंडो पैसिफिक मैरीटाइम डोमेन अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम, जो कि हमको भारत को और अमेरिका को साथ ले आएगा और अन्य राष्ट्रों के साथ भी, और वो हमारे जो दर्शाएगा अधिक रूप में और समृद्ध रूप में और उसके सुरक्षित विश्व के लिए।
I'm pleased that we've reached agreement for the U.S. Development Finance Corporation to continue its important work in India, supporting vaccine production, clean energy initiatives, and I'm also glad we're renewing the...
So that was the statement from Joe Biden. Mr. Rashid Alvi of the Congress Party with us. So Mr. Rashid Alvi, if you heard the details that have come in from the meeting, India is being hailed for how Covid-19 was handled by the country. Prime Minister Modi being hailed by the world. What's your first reaction on that?
Actually, what President Biden is saying is not very important. What has happened in our country, it is important. What is the report of WHO? Approximately 50 lakhs of Indians were killed. How can you appreciate? You are not talking about the report of WHO. They say approximately 50 lakhs Indians were killed during that period. No oxygen, no hospital, no medicine.
But Mr. Alvi, then aren't you being selective in what you believe? When Joe Biden says something, you're saying no. And it's not just Joe Biden. In fact, the Australian Prime Minister also made that statement, hailing India for the vaccine metri. So you're unwilling to accept this statement, but you're willing to accept a statement that has come in from WHO, and that also a part of it where it criticized India.
We don't need any certificate of President Biden. Under what circumstances?
But we need a certificate from WHO?
Yeah, we know the truth. We know the truth. We are here in India. We have visited villages to villages. Thousands and thousands of people were killed only because of oxygen. Oxygen was not available in this country. Medicines were not being delivered to the patients. Who is responsible for this?
Okay, for the oxygen shortage as well, when it reached the court, the state said that there was no shortage. That on one end. Other than that, when Joe Biden has said it, for the criticism that you mentioned about WHO as well, India has responded to that, saying there is a mathematical model that is used for the projection that WHO has made. A mathematical model that is used for developing countries is very, very different from what is used for the developed countries. So India has also responded to that.
What is the report of WHO or what Biden is saying? You forget it. But what is the reality? You and me are here in this country. We know the truth, what has happened that time. It has no place in any hospital of Delhi. People were dying outside the hospital. There was queue. जहाँ पे मुर्दे जलाए जाते हैं. People were waiting for that. We have seen from our own eyes. How can we appreciate the statement given by President Biden? We know the reality. I think whether you have visited to the villages of Uttar Pradesh or not, we have seen from our own eyes.
Yes, we've been reporting from ground on the situation. There have been a few incidents that were reported, but largely India being praised. Mr. Rashid Alvi, thank you for joining us. You're holding Prime Minister Modi responsible for what happened here. Joe Biden praising India's handling of Covid-19. In fact, he very clearly also distinguished it with what happened in China, saying that was extremely autocratic. Senior editor Madhav Das is joining us live from Tokyo. Madhav, we're talking about the messaging. While talking about India itself, within the Quad as well, countries hailing India's handling of Covid-19, saying this was the democratic way of handling it.
Well, that's really the praise coming in from all of the countries. It's not just the US president who rightly compared it to China, saying that China, while it had failed in actually containing COVID-19, and of course there is a perception that because it is autocratic, Russia and China, there is a perception that they try to build that they can take quick decisions apart from the sort of processes, the long governmental processes that democracies will have to go through a process of consultation. India, on the other hand, has done well, is what the US president has said. Also, Australia and Japan, their prime ministers also hailing the Quad vaccine initiative, saying that it has helped in several countries, including Thailand and Cambodia, where the prime minister himself went to pick up those vaccines when they arrived in those countries. So India's role in the battle against COVID-19 being hailed. Of course, it appears earlier in the day when those comments were made vis-a-vis democracy, we did think that that would become a big controversy. Well, it appears that the comments that have been made vis-a-vis COVID-19 by the US president now appear to be lending themselves to a bigger debate domestically as far as the handling of COVID-19 is concerned. We haven't clearly heard the last word yet on that. More reactions still awaited. And also, of course, today, the two other bilateral meetings that are to take place with Japan and Australian prime ministers, those two important meetings also, as well as what has exactly transpired in the India-US bilateral meeting, that's something that we'll have to also wait.
All right. Madhav, thank you for joining us with those details. Of course, a bigger controversy is likely to brew in India as a criticism is likely to come in with the statement that Joe Biden has made hailing India's handling of COVID-19. We'll track those developments. For now, slipping into a quick break. We'll be right back. Do stay with us.